Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the Global Campfire of Coaching. We provide inspiration, community, and mastery with coaches and for coaches. We are creating a community where we share our opinions, where we let each other into what we're doing on a daily basis, how coaching looks around the world. Today, we have somebody joining us from New York City, which is, of course, a very uh, interesting, a very dynamic place to be in right now with everything that's going on with COVID-19. And today's guest is actually somebody who will be able to shed some light on that for us and how to deal with this uncertainty and how to deal with these special times that are going on right now. She is a certified professional coach and energy leadership master practitioner through the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching, short IPEC. She is a professional certified coach with the ICF. She taps into her clients' inherent wisdom and resourcefulness that shifts their mindsets from functioning effectively to functioning optimally and authentically in life. It's an act of co-creation between coach and client. Her name is Laura Thompson, and she's known by many as an international go-to coach, mentor, and advisor focused on personal, professional leadership, communications, and business strategies with clients worldwide. She's also a social entrepreneur, an author, and a governing board member of distinguished nonprofits. Laura, it's such a pleasure to have you. Welcome to the Campfire of Coaching.
Yeah, thank you, Fabian. It's a real pleasure to be here, and I'm so glad that we've reconnected.
Yeah, so we were just reminiscing. We first met, what was it, like 3 years ago for the first Coach Cafe on 32nd Street and Broadway at a Pret-a-Manger, I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
So it's been a while.
Yes. Wow. And we've both grown since.
Yeah, for sure. Laura, I'd like to start these interviews with the status quo ante, with the normal. About 2-3 months ago, what was your life like?
Yeah. Well, pre-COVID-19, I was actually applying to different RFPs from companies around the world. And also, I was very much interested in having a full-time role as an executive leadership at a major company abroad, not in the United States. And then when COVID-19 happened, I got calls from the people I submitted RFPs to. They said, we're sorry, but this is on hold until the crisis passes. And the same with like being a full-time leadership coach. They said, we're sorry, we're closing the position. We don't know what's going on with COVID-19. So all the projects I was lining up, as we all do as coaches or consultants in the pipeline, just really disappeared overnight.
Yeah, and that has to be quite a shock. And it doesn't matter if you're a coach or what kind of professional you are. That's something that is something you have to work through, right? So take us maybe a little bit through that process of how you have pivoted since and how you're adapting.
Yeah, so also in the process, I had started a new relationship with the Center for Asia Leadership Institute in Malaysia, and they also have an office in Boston. And they were very smart. They pivoted very quickly virtually to webinars, and they were also into blended learning. So for them, I was supposed to be a speaker at the Asia Leadership Forum in May, and of course that got postponed. They were wondering if they were going to cancel it or not. And then they decided to postpone it until November. But in the meantime, would I like to be like a guest speaker on a webinar? So I said yes, of course. And it was actually last week, April 15th, which was the 1-year anniversary of the burning of Notre Dame in Paris. So I felt that was very special to me because I love Notre Dame. I lived in Paris for many years. And then today is the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. So that's very special. So I feel like I'm doing like these chats online on big anniversaries. And I also was able to pivot because for the past 3 years, I have written a book. It's a mini resource book called Mindful Communications. And then I translated that into an e-course on Skillshare. And it got around that people like this course. And Tablet-wise from Silicon Valley reached out to me if I'd put my course on their platform. And then CDP Formula, which is for CPAs who need to get like educational credits every year. They asked me to put it on their platform. And so that actually kept me really busy.
Wow. And just to clarify,
past,
CPAs, those are accountants, right? Just for people that don't know
yes,
yeah.
yes, accountants. Because they're supposed to get like 20 educational credits per year to keep up with their, like us, we have to keep up our credentials in coaching. It's similar. So that's really been my pivot. I pivoted to the online platform pretty easily because I was working that way for the past 3 years. I do love working on site and with people, in person. But hopefully this is just temporary to move us into the new normal.
Yeah. And if people are getting inspired right now, if there are coaches out there that say, hey, I love to do an online course as well, what was that thought process like from conceiving the idea to actually putting it in practice and then seeing your course on Skillshare for you?
I think because I have a marketing communications background, communication sort of blended very nicely into coaching. And also I have a mindfulness background based like on meditation, the philosophy of yoga. And I blended all these concepts together and created the mini resource book. And from there, then I was inspired, to create the online course. And Skillshare is actually a good place to start because you don't have to be perfect. It's okay, to make mistakes. And I think that's probably biggest fear for everyone is perfection. And that's what I loved about Skillshare. And you improve each time, if you create more and more courses. So I would recommend if people do want to create an e-course, start with Skillshare because they have a great program like teaching you how to do everything. It's a great resource.
All right, great. And apparently it doesn't stop there. Apparently, if you're doing really well, you get picked up by other platforms and it keeps rolling from there. So that's wonderful to hear. It takes a little bit of the pressure away of choosing the platform because that you can actually do more with it. I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I would recommend it highly. And the community is nice. They're very supportive. And I haven't really seen that yet with the other platforms. So, okay. But there's so many out there.
Yeah, interesting. So I looked at your website and I saw that your motto is to dream your life and live your dream. I don't know if I butchered it because I couldn't pull it up just now, but it's basically to live the dream, right? And I was just curious why that is the motto for you and how you are able to implement that for yourself right now, given the very unfortunate circumstances in New York.
Ooh, that's a good question. I have always been a champion of following your dreams, and I always championed others to follow their dreams in the beginning. And it's probably because my dream when I was in college was actually just to be a writer and an author. But my mother, who was very pragmatic, said, no, you have to have a career that supports you, where you're financially well off. And so what did I study? Finance. Mm-hmm. And I went into, finance and banking. And I think because I was frustrated that I wasn't really following my dreams, that eventually when I became a coach, it became very powerful within me to empower others to follow their dreams. And I noticed throughout my life, even when I wasn't a coach, that I was always empowering people to follow their dreams. One example is an investment banker. I was living in Paris, and he was in London, and his dream was to own a chateau and make a relais chateau, which is like a hotel and restaurant in France. So I encouraged him to do it. And I was the only one encouraging him to do it. His wife didn't want him to do it because it would disrupt her life, and the children moving from London to France. And then later, when it was so successful, he later said, Laura, if it wasn't for your encouragement, I would never have achieved my dream, of having a Relais Chateau in France. And they even got a 2-star from Michelin
Wow.
for their restaurant. So, those are like stories that I love, and I just love to empower people to follow their dreams. And during the COVID crisis, it's going to be a little bit difficult, for many because we are at stay at home, but it can be a time for reflection. Maybe you were working full time at a company, and then you're working at home now. You might have distractions if you have children and you have to homeschool your children, but you can create time for yourself and reflect, like, is this where I want to be right now? Is this where I want to spend the next 5 years of my life? Maybe now is a time where I can think about what's truly meaningful to me and maybe pivot my career in that direction. And I also call it blending your passions with your professional life, and maybe creating, if you're a lawyer and you love fashion, maybe you become a fashion advisor for all the female lawyers or even the male lawyers. You can do that while working as a lawyer. So there are examples like that.
Yeah, fascinating. I love that principle of that there still is all these possibilities you have, right? Even if you follow the parents' advice of do something proper, do something that makes you money. That doesn't mean that it's over and you're on this one-way track and creativity is out the window. You still have all these opportunities. If you really want to do something, you have time, and if you have the energy, you can do something next to your day job, which has maybe less risk involved, which might actually, I mean, for some people that would be hindering because they need this fear in order to be really creative. But for some people, if it's low stakes, that might help them be more creative and something beautiful might come out of it. So I really, really appreciate that kind of formula. And now that you say all that, your collective oeuvre of books makes sense to me, because I was like, okay, so she wrote kind of an instructional book, right? And
Yes.
then there's a novel, and then there's a book about poetry. So wow, how does that fit together? But now that I hear you say these things, it totally makes sense, because there were these things that you kind of had inside of you that you wanted to bring out, and you made it happen. So that's beautiful.
Yes, yes. So that part of me I keep alive, and it's more as a hobby. Um, I mean, if one day it's my full-time profession, that's beautiful. But I keep creatively writing, and I also had a short play on off Broadway a few years ago, so that was fun too. Yeah, so I keep that alive.
Yeah, wow.
Sure.
Okay. You mentioned a COVID tool that you have on your LinkedIn page, right?
Yes, yes. I think it would be really helpful for people right now. So it's who do I want to be during COVID-19? It's a great coaching tool for your clients. And it explains like all the emotions and behaviors that we're having during this crisis. We all started out in fear, which is like hoarding of food and toilet paper, like all the essential needs, because we're in survival mode. And it's also about anger or sadness or frustration, feeling those feelings. It's good to allow yourself to feel all those feelings so you can move past the feelings and push through it and get into the next zone, which is more about coaching, like learning zone. And that's like I identify with my emotions, I allow them like through my body, I release them so they don't like stay stuck in your body. If you're angry, maybe you want to hit a pillow, or if you're a boxer, you can box it out or run or exercise. That's a good channel of moving the energy through your body. You start to be aware of what you're eating, because in the fear zone, we might have been binge eating horrible snack foods. And then in the learning zone, you're more about let's eat healthily. And then in the growth zone, which is actually in a way where we are living in the present, but focused on the future. We're open to this new transition leading us into the new future of our world. And we are relaying what we know to others, as you are doing through your global campfire, which I love. I think it's really nice. We're being appreciative of others. We're reaching out to others in loving ways and caring ways, and looking for new ways on how to adapt. It's really just a wonderful tool for coaches. It's a wonderful tool for just any human being because it helps you understand like what you're going through and where you want to be. You don't want to be in the fear curve. You want to be in that learning and growth curve, which is all about coaching, right? We always want our clients to be in that learning and growth mindset.
Yes, it's an amazing tool in the sense that it's visual, right? It helps clients see, it helps clients dissociate, it helps them analyze themselves, it helps them kind of engage the more rational part of our brain and get out of the more ancient instinct-driven parts. And just by describing oneself, kind of looking, okay, where am I, by identifying, by relating, we are already getting more constructive, and that helps us to be more future focused. That's an amazing offer that you're putting that on your LinkedIn page for people to kind of use in their own coaching, because it takes time to conceive these things and to create them, and we might instinctively kind of know what's on there, right? You kind of look at it and you're like, yeah, that makes sense. I knew that, right? But to see it is so powerful that it makes a big difference. So thank you so much for offering that.
Yeah, you're welcome. It was shared to me by a couple of other coaches as well. So yeah, it's a wonderful tool that people are using right now.
Yeah. Okay. Laura, as we're kind of already approaching the landing, what is one big message that you want people to take away from listening to us today?
I think, again, it's something I learned from an admiral of a U.S. Navy ship. I just had heard him in a webinar the other day. And what he wanted from his crew is if you can improve 1% every day, rather than like the baseball terminology where they say swing for the fences, meaning hit the ball out of the ballpark.
And hit or miss.
So, yeah, exactly. So I love that philosophy. Like if we could improve ourselves by 1% every day, but I add to also make a pause and reflect, because we can't be on 100% of the time. We need to step back and relax, even have fun, and also to be your authentic self. I think those are two important messages, I would like the audience to remember.
Thank you. And how can people get in touch with you, and what are you looking for from when people reach out to you? What are you most interested in?
I would say they can get in touch with me at LinkedIn. They can find information on my website, which is laurathompsoncoaching.com. I would say what I would want for them is to read my book, Mindful Communications. It's a mini resource book, and it is found on Amazon. They can take the same course on Skillshare. Those would be for individuals. And I would love for corporations to reach out and create or contact me for like mindful leadership or mindful communications workshops or training. I think that would be really nice because I believe we're shifting into a new future where mindful leadership and mindful communications is very important.
Yes. Okay, Laura, thank you so much. It has been wonderful reconnecting with you.
Yeah, thank you, Fabian. And I'm so grateful that you reached out and that we've had this conversation. It's been really fun.